Hello, Aqua Hackers. My name is Alanna Gray. I'm a policy analyst with Keystone Agricultural Producers. We are an organization in Manitoba that lobbies and advocates on behalf of farmers and commodity associations. And today, Mitch Timmerman is going to walk you through a potential aqua hack.
Thank you, Alanna. Greetings, everyone out there in webinar land. Hackers, start your engines. What we have for you is a fantastic challenge vital to society, and that is to help agricultural producers adopt cost-effective solutions for water and land management challenges that have implications for water quality. And in this neck of the woods, that means Manitoba's Great Lake. Can you help farmers help Lake Winnipeg? To begin with a story, Alanna, a long time ago, humans became quite comfortable with the notion that only certain people were going to have the heady responsibility of producing most, if not all, of the food for the rest of society. And that continues today. In our modern world, we rely on farmers to raise livestock and grow crops, for the most part, to sustain the rest of us. And so, on that premise, is it not reasonable that society both demand and support sound practice adoption by farmers, including practices that increase environmental sustainability? And so once we accept the notion that people need to eat and that farmers are going to produce that food for people to eat, we need to tackle the challenge of surface water quality deterioration. And in particular in Lake Winnipeg, how is that coming about? What is agriculture's role? Farming is one of multiple small sources of phosphorus that triggers algal blooms in bodies of water like Lake Winnipeg. And the way that the primary culprit, the principal nutrient of all phosphorus, reaches the lake, at least agriculturally, is runoff from land, but it needs to be put in the context of these other sources and needs to be acknowledged that to overcome this challenge, there needs to be a team effort. Our purpose here today is to focus on agriculture as one of those many small sources. Yes, this is quite the dichotomy, would be the $100 word, I think, Alanna. The problem is small, yet it's big. Here are the numbers, and really all I want you to focus on is that there is a total amount of phosphorus in the agricultural system, and the amount that's leaking to the lake is actually quite small. The problem is that it doesn't take very much to cause damage, and thus we need to try to improve on what is already a pretty good situation and somehow make it even better. Can we reduce this leak from a trickle to a drop? That is your AquaHacking Challenge. In terms of some background, a description of the situation, Lake Winnipeg's watershed. What is the setting? It is distinctive for several reasons. It is a vast area dominated by farming, which is a non-point source of nutrients, but as a result is difficult to manage. And this is a landscape that has been dramatically altered in order to establish successful communities and a thriving industry. Further to that, most are familiar with the concept of ecosystems. They are natural. What farmers are managing are agri-ecosystems. These are altered landscapes that require inputs in order to maintain the system and generate outputs, principally food and other good things for people in cities to enjoy. And the downside is that that necessary activity can lead to impacts on the natural resources that make up those agri-ecosystems. This is a special situation. The AquaHack that is needed here must take into account the circumstances, the conditions of the northern Great Plains region where Manitoba and agriculture here is located. The climate is cold, the landscape is predominantly nearly level or gently sloping, as we like to say, rather than flat, which implies boring. The conditions here are variable, but the key is that they are different from elsewhere in the world where this problem has been not necessarily fixed, but has been addressed. or has been tackled. It is just different here. We have the 4 to 6 month pause known as winter, and then a whole lot happens in the way of water movement. And compared to elsewhere, the processes that lead to a vital, essential nutrient like phosphorus, essential for life, that does good things in the right place, reaching a place like Lake Winnipeg to do bad things when in excess. It's much more complicated here than elsewhere, how that happens. And that's vital to coming up with an AquaHack that will fit an industry like farming, that is a business that takes place out in the elements. As in other industries, solutions to environmental challenges must be economical, or they simply won't be accepted, let alone adopted. Just as other independent business people, farmers are fixated on profit. And there are good times and bad. Commodity prices go up and down, as do land values, as do input costs, and as shown here, net farm income has taken a dive lately. So that variability needs to be taken into account, as well as the stress level that goes up and down based on conditions, not just between years, but within a growing season, those conditions that farmers face. In addition, a whole lot of factors out of farmers' control come into play that affect their decisions. Market signals, government policies, consumer attitudes. And what farmers are constantly struggling to do is to manage financial risk. It is paramount that they do so in order to stay in business. And that relates to our other major concept today, and that is environmental risk, trying to mitigate the potential for damage to be done to, for instance, Lake Winnipeg. And so the challenge to you aqua hackers out there who are daring enough to take this on is to come up with not just solutions and not just water quality solutions, but feasible water quality solutions. What makes a solution feasible? Well, it has to be economical, practical, adaptable, and of course, why do it if it isn't effective? It has to accomplish what it's meant to do. These are the kinds of factors that will drive the decision by a farmer to adopt a water quality solution. And as you may or may not be aware, agriculture, like other industries, no different, has come a long way from the days of yore when technology was low and physical labor was high. Agriculture is now big business, high tech, quite advanced, everything from what happens in the lab to the tractor, to outside of the tractor in the field, communications. It's a big network now, as with other industries. And that is something that presents opportunity then to folks like yourselves to come up with solutions that can be quite technical, as they are in other industries. And one of the aspects of farming in which technology can be applied and has evolved dramatically is in what we call nutrient management. And what is the fundamental take home here? Nutrients are natural and essential for life, but too much in the wrong place can cause problems. And as I mentioned earlier, outputs need to be balanced by inputs. So if farmers have to feed plants in order for them to grow well and in order to make money, we know then that nutrients are going to be added to the system. The question is, how are they added? Can they be added in a more advanced way in order to reduce how much they leak to Lake Winnipeg? And that replenishment of nutrients in farm fields occurs in some cases every year in order to maintain soil productivity. And that involves testing and equipment of different kinds, depending on what the product is. And thus, nutrient management is in itself a complicated topic. It's not just about feeding the plants, but it's also about providing them another essential for life, and that is water, and also addressing when there is too much of a good thing. And here is where we've come to some recent revelations as a result of different types of researchers working together to address what is a multidisciplinary topic. And the realization is that it's not just about managing the phosphorus to keep it out of the lake. If it's water that delivers the phosphorus to the lake, then it's the water that must also be managed. What is the obstacle? In very practical terms, for both the farmer and the environmental advocate, there tends to be too much when no one wants it and not enough when everyone wants it. And here's a quick depiction of what can be springtime in Manitoba, when adventurous souls like to head out on the lake, aboard a canoe. Wait a second, that's not a lake, that's a farm field. And those are water quality researchers trying to collect data. And so in this melange of conditions, we come to terms with our current level of knowledge and practice adoption. The fundamentals are well understood, but in this cold climate, we know that in establishing links between water quality and climate change to the everyday work of farmers and using water to grow food and raise livestock, there remain some major obstacles that are scientific, economic, and overall complex. And with all of that as background to what is a formidable and fascinating challenge, we ask you, can you come up with solutions that are feasible for farmers to adopt in their attempt to address an environmental concern while maintaining the profitability of their operations? Can you come up with new tech that tangibly does something itself or assist farmers in making management decisions? And take heart if you choose to accept this formidable and fascinating challenge. Agriculture is an industry that is all about solutions, always has been, always will be. And it's thus about finding one that fits both farming and protects water. So we invite you to help farmers help the lake. Take on the Agriculture AquaHack. We look forward to hearing from you.